Hello there, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar. If you can see my screen, see me, hear my voice, if you could please let me know in the comments box, I would greatly appreciate it. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll give you a minute. Awesome. Suzanne says yes. I like to ask because you never know. You know, it's not like I have many tech problems, but because I don't, but you never know. So thank you for the feedback. I greatly appreciate it. So I thought what would be fun to do tonight, somebody kind of mentioned this last week, I think, if I remember correctly, about looking forward into the next year and what's coming and all of that. And so I thought that would be kind of fun to do tonight. Honestly, I did do a little bit of research and digging on Google, and quite frankly, I didn't really see much of anything that I was impressed by. A lot of it was just, I don't know what it was. But so I decided, you know what? I'm kind of plugged into things, and I'd like to think I have a decent pulse on what's going on, at least in some areas. So I just made up my own damn list. But there's reasons why I chose each of the 7 items, and we'll talk about that as we get into the list. So with that said, let me go full screen here. All right. Cool. So welcome everyone to Expert Media Webinars. This is your host and teacher, Tony Ladig, which it's always me, so I'm not quite sure why I say that. Just a force of habit, I guess. And so I thought it would be super cool to kind of take a gaze through the looking glass for 2022. And of course, that's an allusion to Alice in Wonderland, which I'm a huge fan of. And we'll see. And so there are 7 items that I chose, predictions, if you will, for the coming year. And as I mentioned before, I did the intro. I did some research. I looked around. I wanted to see what other people were saying was coming in 2022, and I just wasn't impressed with any of it. It was all like very safe, boring stuff that didn't really apply to any of us. And so in thinking about where we've been and the overall climate of how things are in business and otherwise right now, and with some insights from some meditation and asking questions of the powers that be, also known as the voices inside my head, I came up with a list. And the list has an overarching theme to it, which I think you may connect with. So the theme that came to me immediately as I sat down to write notes for tonight was the Great Escape. And a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is based on that. And I'm really seeing that. There's a lot of turmoil in the world, of course, for a variety of reasons, which we don't want or need to get into. But it's creating some situations that are causing people to want to escape into something new, something different. And so let's talk about the first one. Yeah, I read about that, Gary. It's pretty interesting. There's actually several new technologies that are coming out now, like programmable nanobots the size of cells, which that's a little more scary than anything. But anyway, all right. So number 1, an exodus from the traditional workplace to entrepreneurship. So this has been going on for a while, but I think we're going to see a lot more of this in 2022, especially because um, we live in an environment these days of cautions and all of that kind of stuff due to the great Rona and everything. And think or believe what you will about that. The reality is, it makes working in jobs and all that kind of stuff more challenging. We're seeing more and more um, issues with really at every level when it comes to work. And I have to say, with what I do for a living, which is teach and all of that, online courses, software, all those fun things, I did take a bit of a hit in 2020, I guess, especially mid-year, whenever the fallout started because of everything that was going on. But in reality, not so much. And the truth is that there's so many new opportunities that are showing up, um, that we can do online, and physical products, and we'll talk more about those as we go along. That I think more and more people are going to say, you know what, screw jobs. I'm going to do my own thing. And I think we're going to see more and more of that in 2022, especially with some of the new opportunities that are showing up that have the potential to generate a lot of money, like NFTs being a good example. And so that is my first prediction, is that there will be an increase in entrepreneurship. And I don't mean like 1 or 2%. I'm thinking double digit increase at the very least, just because it's becoming easier and easier. I mean, it still takes work. So there's not, you know, um, an illusion of making money from nothing, but um, being able to work on your own terms beats the hell out of commutes and 12-hour work days and putting up with bullshit from people who are jealous of you or whatever. I know my son-in-law is going through a lot of that crazy right now. Basically, not warehouse work. We have a lot of warehouses in our area, but working for food manufacturers. And I haven't been in a traditional work environment since 1999. And it was a Christian publishing company, so there really wasn't a bunch of petty crap there, but I hear the rumbles, especially these days, having a retail store and all of that. And yeah, I think we're all done with it, right? I think we're over it. So that's number one. Number two, I personally believe that the arts are going to surge in 2022. There's been evidence of that already occurring this year. I think it's going to explode even more next year, partly because of crypto and NFTs and the roles that they're playing in connecting some dots, um, combining with a community and a real sense of individual ownership that NFTs bring to the table with regard to the arts. I've been primarily talking about, especially in this first course, on NFTs of art-based NFTs, so photography and illustrations and AI and all of that. But the reality is you can use NFTs for anything. And music, I think, is going to be one of the next big blow-ups with NFTs. Same with gaming, which is already starting to surge. And we're going to see it. We're going to see connections to books and writing and all kinds of things like that. You watch. We're just getting started. We're really in the early stages of what is happening in crypto and all of that. I refuse to use the word metaverse because of the connection to Facebook, but the reality is it is a metaverse of sorts. I have cautions about it because I think people can get lost in it and use it as an escape from reality, because for many people reality sucks, and I see that also as a huge negative. The last thing you want to do is replace your life with a made up one. And it can be easy to do that, especially if you're, facing a lot of crazy issues. But with regard to the art specifically, there are people who are not known in the art community at all that all of a sudden are getting notoriety. And it's just really increasing. I know I spend a lot of time, for me, a lot is maybe an hour or two a day, but a lot of time on Instagram lately, and finding art and artists that are just wonderful, that they have 150 followers or something like that, but yet their stuff is wonderful. And so we're going to see some definite shifts there. And to me, I wouldn't call it a level playing field, because it's not quite that. There's still a lot of talented people, but the opportunities are different and they're changing. And it's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about a lot as well in the coming year. And by the way, um, just to give you a hint of sorts, a lot of what I'm talking about tonight is also where I'm going to be uh, talking about myself in the new year, as far as training and all of that kind of stuff. So, hint. So anyway, I believe that the arts are going to surge, and there's going to be a lot of new opportunities show up. One thing that I've been doing a lot of research and reading on and studying and playing with myself and all of that is connecting the physical with NFTs, which I'm not really going to get into in this current course. The next course that we talk about next year, we're going to get in that big time. But how to connect physical objects and physical representations of digital NFTs and all of that kind of stuff in a very real way that helps build community and brings a lot of different kinds of elements into it. So that'll be cool. Also, alternate sales channels will thrive. And what I mean by that is there's always going to be Amazon and sites like that, and they're always going to have their place. Same with Etsy and eBay. But again, going back to this great escape theme, um, I think there's many who are just over a lot of the crazy. There's a lot of crazy going on, because a lot of these big channels, sales channels and all of that, like Etsy, Amazon, even some of the social media channels like Twitter and Facebook, they freaking think that they're gods and they're untouchable. And I hate to tell you, that just isn't true. It's you and I, the little people, that keep those places alive. And there's a lot of folks that are really getting fed up with it, hence the great escape, right? So the good news is for all of us that there's a lot of other channels. There's a lot of other no BS ways of connecting and building community, to sell our goods, to buy goods that we desire, all of that kind of stuff. And I really think we're going to see that explode in the new year. Um, Twitter can probably only wish that they're getting the kind of engagement that you're seeing in Discord and other channels like that. So, yeah, we're definitely going to see a change in that. And one thing that I can promise you is that I'm spending a huge chunk of time diving into this stuff and seeing what makes sense and what doesn't. That's my passion, is to go in and identify things that work, things that don't, and then tell you about the things that work to save you time, effort, and money. That's my goal, always has been my goal. That's not going to change in 2022. But the good news is that we can bypass a lot of the crazy and perhaps even be more successful in our sales. And so that's what I think that's one of the big ones that I think is going to be happening moving forward. And maybe even, I think with many of these, we're going to see this continue even past 2022. Remember MySpace? like how big it was back in the day and everything. Where is it now? Case in point. Remember AOL? First guys to the show, or one of the first guys to the show, pretty much everybody back in the day, if they wanted access to the internet, it was through AOL. Where are they now? Right? So don't think these media giants can't fall, because they can. So let's see some new ones come on the scene, and I think we will. All right, Web 3.0. I would be remiss to not talk about this. Instead of using the big M word, we will just call it Web 3.0, and it's going to go even more mainstream with NFTs redefining more industries. But beyond that, you have all the crypto trading and everything. Where I think we're going to start seeing Web 3.0 head is not in the main technologies. I mean, obviously, we're going to see that. And so, everybody's preaching AR and VR and those kinds of things. And, having classes in the metaverse and all of that kind of stuff, and where we can all meet up. It's like the ultimate let's play pretend. And so I'm not interested. I'm not interested in meeting up with you guys, looking at cartoon faces and thinking that, oh, yeah, that's you. Hey, Leslie, nice to see you. And it's just a freaking cartoon. I mean, if we really want to talk, we can talk like we are tonight. We can pick up the phone, whatever. So to me, that's not a big deal. Gaming is going to be a big deal because gaming is already a big deal, Web 3.0 or not. But it's the security feature. It's where you have the ability to assign unique IDs to objects, whether it's images, music, whatever. But even beyond that, that's what's so enticing about some of the Web 3.0 technology. So my prediction is not to so much pay attention to all of the flash and the colors and all of the pretty pictures, even though we're going to be talking about the pretty pictures a lot. It's the underlying technology is where we really want to pay attention. And it's actually one of my later points. I don't want to get into it too much here. But there, like one really good example, there's a cryptocurrency that I just started investing in called ACH. And that's the little name for it, I guess. But what's interesting about ACH, and right now it's like 5 cents. I mean, it's not that expensive. So you can buy a bunch of it. But ACH is the underlying technology that is enabling Shopify and some of these other sales platforms to connect directly to Web 3.0. So let that thing sink in for a minute. Every store that's using Shopify right now is going to be able, in a very short period of time, to plug directly into cryptocurrency because of this underlying technology, ACH. And so will that blow up into the future? I think so. And so there's a lot of things like that it will be invisible. Just like how, we want to put up a website. We don't have to code anymore. I mean, remember back in the day, back in the 90s, whenever you wanted to create a website, you had to, use whatever technology was available, like to write your own code or whatever. Like I use this program called Hot Dog, but then Netscape brought out their own editor. And so you had to practically learn like HTML just to do it. And then all of a sudden, a lot of that went away and you had drag and drop and all that kind of stuff. Now, if we want to put up a website, I mean, hell, you pick a template, you add your own pictures, and you're done. We're not there yet with Web 3.0, but we will be. And it's the underlying technologies that are what's worth paying attention to. And those are what's going to explode in 2022, in my humble opinion. Community will continue to grow and flourish in new ways. I think community is a big deal. People have a deep desire to want to connect. And sometimes everybody connects different, like just take Kristen and I as examples. So Kristen is a very social person, and we have, our retail store and all of that, and she thrives on it. Um, she just loves interacting with people face to face, and so she gets energy out of it. And so the more people that are around her and the more people she can interact with, the more energized she is. I'm the exact opposite. Whenever I'm around a bunch of people, it drains me. And so the more people I'm around and the more time I spend with them, I get de-energized. It just takes it out of me. I end up falling asleep. Um, but so community is going to take on a lot of forms, and the powers that be are really trying to discourage community for all of the um, concerning health issues and those types of things. And so people are looking for community in different ways. And of course, one of those ways is through online. And we're just going to see more of that. I mean, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I built Expert Media Community. I looked for quite a while for a solution that I thought was worthwhile, and I'm pretty pleased with the one that we have. It's not like we can get together and do live chats or those kinds of things, which it does exist with that technology. But here we are. I mean, um, there's a group of you that are here, and I'm kind of the one talking right now, but you can still participate. But still, we're together. And the beautiful thing about community, whether you're interacting through text or live chats or live streaming, which we're doing now, and this is a benefit to me, um, is that whenever we're done, I love this. I really enjoy it. I love connecting with all of you, and seeing you show up in Facebook and different places like that. I mean, it's cool. But whenever we turn off our computers and we're ready for our own time, we each have our own place. You're in your house, I'm in my house, in my office, and whenever we're done, um, don't take this personally, but you won't be here. It'll just be me. And I don't mean that as a negative at all. It's kind of like community on demand in a way, and it gives us an opportunity to connect. I mean, I have customers literally all over the world. I was looking down through some of the folks that signed up for the 2022 premiere thing, and man, I have folks literally all over, from South Africa and Japan to you know England and Ireland and all over the place. It's just super cool. So for me to be able to build community around folks that chances are I may never have a chance to meet in person, I love that. And I think a lot of people really desire that. And with current restrictions in place, which vary place to place, um, community is going to become even more important, especially with some of our new options. Nancy, Web 3.0 is basically what a lot of people refer to as the metaverse. Okay, so it's all about blockchain technology and um, all of that kind of stuff, and it would take days to explain some of those things. Yeah, Vicky says as an introvert, it works for me. Yeah, I'm definitely an introvert. I can be on, and I love speaking like at marketing events. Did a lot of that back before Kristen and I opened up our retail stores. We both did. But if you ever met me at those events, you'd notice that I wasn't out and about all the time. And so I love meeting people, especially in person, but I have limits. And I don't see that as a negative. It just is how it is. And then there's other folks that can party through the night, to which I say, party on, Wayne. All right. So we already started talking about this one a little bit. Pay attention to the cogs that drive the machines. And I don't mean physical, obviously. And this is actually smart advice from an investing perspective. If you're doing anything with cryptocurrency, which I'd recommend figuring that out. Um, I wouldn't consider myself an expert at it at all. I'm still a dabbler at best. I only have, you know, well, I have several $1,000s into it, but still, compared to some people, that's not a lot. But again, start paying attention, especially if you're a researcher, start paying attention to um, what's driving the wheels. So if you see certain things coming onto a scene, like I do a lot of Google research from the perspective of, um, so here is this technology. How could this connect to what's happening related to blockchain? And I'll just use that as one example because I referred to it before. And so by connecting some of those dots, it can point you in a direction of um, things that are just getting started now, right? So, I mean, imagine this. Let's say you have this technology company, and they launch their own altcoin on the blockchain and all of that kind of stuff. Starts trading on Coinbase and those places, and very very low buy-in because they're still in beta and developing their software and all that kind of stuff. And so basically, they're trying to raise capital so that they can build bigger, better, stronger. And so, like with ACH, like I was talking about earlier, they're at 5 cents right now. So, well, actually, I think they're at 6 cents. They went up. So, what happens if in the next year ACH goes to $5? You know, what happens? Well, if you bought at 5 cents and it goes to $5, that's a nice payday, and that kind of stuff is happening all the time in cryptocurrency, but even in stocks and a lot of different things like that. And maybe this isn't your thing at all, and that's fine. But I'm just telling you now is a really good time. Just really start learning and paying attention to some of the underlying technologies because the world is changing online in a really big way. And I think 2022 is going to usher in a lot of those changes. It's going to look different. I believe online is going to look a lot different this time next year compared to how it is right now. And so it's worth paying attention to some of that if that's your gig. And if it isn't, that's fine. There's plenty of other things to draw on. I mean, I think that one of the things that I love, I've been getting a lot of interesting downloads about creatives. Um, and So there's a lot to be said for what's happening with art right now. There's a reason why some of the new technologies are opening up. And there's a couple, by the way, um, that I haven't even started talking. I've been holding off talking about them just because, excuse me, well, we're running out of time this year. But some really cool new stuff happening that is making it easier and easier for average folks like you and me to create some pretty incredible things. Just what I was playing with this morning is a good example, which we won't talk about just yet. So another thing to pay attention to. And last but not least, it's funny that the screen went wacky on that one. More and more are going to explore spirituality for guidance. And of course, this has always been a thing. It's always going to be a thing. But anytime you have instability and an environment where the foundations that we've known and understood are shaken a little bit, there's always a shift in spirituality. But depending on who you listen to and pay attention to, some say that we're heading toward an age of enlightenment and all of those kinds of things. Other folks who are more heavily involved in uh, in Christian beliefs are saying that we're in the end of days. No matter how you slice it, things are changing from a spirituality perspective. And so it to me, it's just an easy conclusion to draw that with everything that's going on right now, why not turn toward, a higher power or additional guidance or whatever? I mean, honestly, it beats the heck out of being stressed out all the time, right? So, um, I think we're going to see a lot more of this, and I don't want to be when it comes to spirituality, it's such a sensitive topic, because different people believe different things, and I respect those beliefs. Okay, so same with politics. I have my own opinions. Um, Same with spirituality. I'm fairly certain that my approach to spirituality is a bit different than some of yours. But we're each on our own path. We're each unique. So why wouldn't it be? Is kind of the way I look at it. Um, and and if when it comes to spirituality you're indifferent, I would encourage you to seek out additional guidance because um, again, great escape, right? Uh, and one thing that I will say about the great escape phrase is I'm not directing us to be like an ostrich and put our heads in the sand. I think that's the worst thing we can do is just, sit in a corner, so to speak, a proverbial corner with our fingers in our ears going, la, 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 la. This doesn't exist. If anything, now is the time for us to stand up and take charge. I, for one, am being really tired of uh, people wanting to control my life. It's my damn life. Leave it alone. And so, yeah, I think it's important for us to take charge again. I often in the past I've referred to how many of us have at one time or another lived life in a way that I refer to as bumper pool. I don't know if you've ever played bumper pool before. It's kind of like a regular pool table, but it has these little bumpers in the middle, and so you kind of bounce the balls off in different ways and everything. And sometime life feels like that, especially when you're living by default rather than on purpose. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of over that. I'm kind of over it. I want to I want to head in the directions that I choose rather than them being chosen for me. So let me I really appreciate your comments. I need to reverse and look through them a little bit. Yeah, I feel the exact same way, Julia. And one of the things that I love about NFTs, like there's multiple crowds that are buying NFTs and they buy them for different reasons. And all those reasons aside, at the end of the day, they all still are drawing attention to the art. Some of it, the sales are attached to personalities and all of those kinds of things. And I don't have any illusions that, some of the NFTs that I have or will be uploading, because I have about 4 different collections I'm working on, or 6 or so, that, they're going to sell for 100 ETH or whatever. That'd be awesome. But, that's not what I'm aiming for. I mean, in the grand scheme of the art community, I am a nobody, but I can rest assured knowing that um, it's additional exposure. I mean, one of our fellow customers here, I don't know if James is on tonight, but one of the folks that's in the NFT class messaged me the other day maybe it was yesterday, to let me know he's a photographer and sold 4 of his NFTs for a total of 1 ETH, which is what, about 4 grand right now? I mean, does he have a big following on Instagram and all of that? Not really. But still, somebody was inspired by his work and they saw it on OpenSea and invested in it. And I think that's just amazing. That's awesome. That's, to me, what it's all about. It's not the hokey pokey at all. It's about connecting to a larger global community. And yeah. Vicky says, I've been guided to teach about the relationship between dreams, parallel lives, past lives, and ancestors. Oh, that's really cool. We should probably talk sometime. I just got some insights regarding some of those things in the last 3 days. It's very fascinating stuff. Debbie says, wherever I go, there I am. Yep, pretty much. Let's see. Ganti says, paradigm shift in the marketplace always happens continuously, but a lot of us feel it is happening suddenly only because we are not watching the world around us with an open mind. I agree 100%. And I think, well, let me be honest here. I would love to make the claim that all the new discoveries I make are just me, but that's just not the case. I have a number of folks that message me on a regular basis, either through Facebook or through Expert Media Community or whatever, and say, hey, you should probably take a look at this. And it's something that I've never even heard of before. Or maybe I did in some cases, but in other cases, I never heard of it. And so, again, that goes back to community, having people, who you interact with and you exchange ideas and share all that kind of stuff. That's why I think community is so important and needs to continue to grow. And I believe it will, because that way, all the ships rise, so to speak. So I'd love to take credit for some of the discoveries that I've made, but it was just because of somebody else that sent me a message, said, you need to check this out now. That's interesting, Margaret, that regarding the end times, it's not in our generation, we are the harvest. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that specifically. I take a lot of, regardless of the prophecies and like whatever camp they're from or whatever, I usually take most of it with a grain of salt because, if you go into the Christian vein, they've been saying that, the end times are here for the last 1,000 years. Eventually, odds say that somebody will eventually get it right because that's just the odds. You say something long enough, it'll happen. But then you have, other camps that are saying that, we're in the end of days, but for a different reason. And then, you have the Age of Enlightenment, and then you have all of these other things. I believe that pretty much all of them are wrong in one form or another because nobody knows for sure. All that you can do is kind of look at the signs and make the best of it. That's why, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of holding on to the end, hoping that somehow we're going to be taken out of the big mess. You want to get out of the big mess, get to work. It's our job to live our best life, to work through our own crap and forgive the people that we have issues with, to love the people that we are connected to and those that we aren't. And instead of being a part of the problem, become part of the solution. I mean, to me, that's just a good idea, regardless of what you believe. Let's see. Sonoma Cat says, I just finished a course with Sonia Choquette about connection with your spirit guides. Very worthwhile. I don't think I've heard of her, but that sounds really interesting. Um, I mean, I often jokingly refer to the voices in my head, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's who's talking. We've been hanging out for a long time. Gary says, yes, like Sweden requiring their people to have chips in their hands before they can get medical or financial services, 1984 here. Yeah, that's a clear no for me. People aren't putting shit in my body. Sorry. Paul Krause says, man plans and God laughs. Pretty much, yep. Yeah, I heard that as well, Liz. She said John Reese used to pay $50 for his list to send him the latest tools, etc., and he would absolutely get cutting edge info for pennies. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ganti. And I like what you say there, Gary. I don't think I've ever heard that before. We don't have to throw stones at every barking dog. Yep. Suzanne says, love that we can see and share comments with everyone. Yeah, me too. We didn't have that whenever I was using GoToWebinar. And so I really love that we do have that now, that we can interact and see what other people are sharing and all of that. And I mean, listen, I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade here. I'm part of this process as much as you, just trying to figure out life like you are. But I am a huge fan of doing my part, like just really wanting to understand how I can become the better person. Some of the biggest challenging questions that I've ever personally received was one example was from another teacher, Jack Canfield, actually. And he had posed a question: who do I need to become to see, how did he say it? What kind of person do I need to become to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, or something to that end? And and that's an incredibly challenging question, because it it really calls us to take a look at the crazy in our own lives and deal with that, rather than point the finger at other people. Um, and so that's been my personal commitment. What can I do every single day to show up a better person than I did the day before, or that I was the day before? And that's why, like, for Kristen and I, and me specifically, I can't even really talk for her. Um, every morning I start out the day with at least an hour and a half of quiet time, usually sitting in the mountains next to a stream, in the Jeep, mind you, because it's freaking colder now. Um, and just listening, listening to the stream bubbling and flowing, and anything that pops into my mind, I write it down in Evernote. And it's funny, I realized today that after having done this for pretty much every day for the last year and a half, 2 years, I've written like 70,000 words with my thumbs on my phone, which is crazy. But that's usually how I start my day, nearly every day. I would say 5 out of 7 days a week. That's how I start. It's at least an hour and a half. And then I end my days, the last hour, um, listening to meditative music that's tuned to specific frequencies. Um, like after everything else is done in a day, TV shows that we want to watch, whatever, um, the last thing we do is turn on meditative music and just let that play for 45 minutes or an hour, and then we go to bed. So start the day and end the day in a place of quiet and meditation. And that has worked wonders for me in being very clear-headed, very focused, very open. Things that come up that's screwy or wacky in my life, which actually is almost never. Um, but still, I'm able to address it right away. And because, all have our own stuff. And that's probably one of the smartest things I've ever done, was to take that approach. And then, of course, um, like in my case, it means waking up early, but I'm fine with that. And then kind of keeping your ear to the railroad tracks, see what's coming down the line. Couple of you are asking frequencies. So it really depends, partly on the mood. 432 is a good all-around frequency. 528 is a good frequency because that's the frequency of the Earth. So, kind of dial in the planet Earth a little bit with 58 or 528. For me personally, I like 174. It's a very low frequency, very grounding. Um, Honestly, it knocks me out almost right away. I fall asleep within a minute. Usually, if we have something on with that low of a frequency, sometimes you can find like videos or music or whatever that has multiple frequencies, like 417 is another one that's often used for healing and those kinds of things. And then like the higher frequencies, I usually won't listen to any frequency music higher than 528 because um, it's like giving yourself a shot of adrenaline or something. And, the goal here is to go to sleep, not be awake all night. So I usually stick with lower ones. And Marjorie says 174 is one of my favorites. Yeah, me too, because a lot of those are very regenerative. They're great for dealing with negative stuff in your life, negative energies and influences and those kinds of things. I think the reason why I like 174 is because, as I told somebody earlier today, we were talking about frequencies and tuning forks and all that kind of stuff. And the lower frequencies, because they have a longer wavelength, kind of just cut through the crap. They just boom, penetrate right to the core of things. And you may not do much or anything with frequency-based music, but I would encourage you to check it out. It's nothing weird or woo-woo or anything like that. You're surrounded. We're immersed in frequencies. You don't realize it necessarily, but like Debbie points out, the Schumann resonance, it's what keeps us sane, literally, on this planet. We automatically align to it. We can't not align to that. So it's not some, weird new agey kind of thing. It's called science. That's what it is. It literally is just science. Yeah, exactly, Angela. Um, Solfeggio frequencies. There's so many different ways that we can connect. Um, I think it really makes a difference. Ganti says Indians have a time they call Brahmi call. I probably butchered that. 2 hours time prior to the sun rays, which is supposed to be the best time for meditation and to start things. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that, but that's about um, that's probably about the time I get up. Like here right now, I think the sunrise is around 7:30, no, probably closer to quarter to 8, something like that, and I'm up by 6. 5:36. Um, excuse me, somewhere in that range every day. So that makes sense. Gary says, stay away from real low frequencies. Military use them to fry monkey brains. Yeah, infrasound is what you're talking about. Like below, what is it? Below 10 hertz, I think. That's infrasound. Yeah, I think it's below 10 hertz. Um, and I read some interesting studies a few years ago about that specifically, because frequency is one of my things. I'm fascinated. I have been ever since I was a teenager. Um, and with infrasound, you can actually be subject to it, and it's below what we can hear. So you can't hear it, but you can feel it. Okay. And so one thing that they found is like certain areas that have been labeled as haunted and stuff like that. There's actually like I'm thinking of one story in particular. It turns out that there was like a cave underneath. They had some water running through it that was creating frequencies that were being dampened by the rock and driven really low. And so um, people would go into these areas and these super low sounds were being emitted from the earth, and it was making the hair on their arms stand up, and they just had this really weird eerie feeling and all of that kind of stuff, and it was just because of sound, infrasound, but it's really low. Ella says, can MP3s actually record all of those frequencies, and then can our speakers really reproduce them? The ones that we're talking about, like 174 and 432, 28, those, yeah, very easily. Yep. My personal choice, favorite choice, is Meditative Mind. They have an app actually that I, connect to with AirPods sometimes. But they have a YouTube channel with hundreds, if not thousands, of videos that are tuned to all different kinds of frequencies. So, yeah. And we're going to get into some of that later on from a product creation perspective. Any other comments or questions? Yes, no, maybe so. Sonoma Cats. Who are you exactly? Remind me again. Some of the YouTube channel names I don't recognize with the names. Frequencies in and of themselves, Chris, would be in the public domain for sure. One thing that I will say, I mentioned this in an email. Some of you probably got this. The Premier Insider, whatever I called it, 2022 Premier Insider deal. A bunch of you have jumped in on that, and I'm really grateful. I just really appreciate your trust, and I think 2022 is going to be a lot of fun. Um, from a community perspective, we definitely want to be connected more. We're going through a lot of transition ourselves here. We're downsizing our house, not because we need to. Well, actually, we do, but we're downsizing because we want to go on the road. So it doesn't make sense to have a big house full of stuff when you're wanting to move into an RV and go on the road. So we're actively doing all of that and everything else. And it's been a very interesting experience. But, thank you, Amy. I would like to hear more about what you're doing with sound. That's why I was asking for your name. So if you want to send me a private message or whatever, I'd love to hear more about what you're doing. But initially my thought was I opened it up to 26. Those sold out almost immediately. And then we added more up to 35 and those sold out. And then I told Kristen, how many people do you think can I handle? Because of the email coaching, right? And so we made the decision to just keep it open for a couple more days, and however many people sign up, that's how many we'll take. And but it's really encouraging and exciting to me because I have a better idea of what I have coming in 2022 than you do because I haven't talked about it all yet. But yeah, hopefully not 100 Ganti. I don't think we could handle the email coaching, quite frankly. But anyways, all of that to say that if you want to get into the Premier Insider program, now's the time to do it. It's closing down on Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve night, and that'll pretty much be it. I know I've been asked a couple times if there was a multi-pay option, and I didn't set one up specifically. However, I completely forgot that on the order form, there is a PayPal Pay Later option, which essentially works that way. I think it breaks it up into 4 payments or something like that. Maybe some of you used it. I have no idea. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that for those of you who didn't get in on that and want to, now is the time. And if you don't, that's fine. One way or the other, doesn't matter. To me personally, whatever serves you best is what I'm most interested in. So anything that I can do to help you succeed next year, that's what I'm going to do. So some of you are asking about the coaching. Let me escape out of this. I'll give you a URL that you can use, I think. Experimenting on Night Cafe. That's not it. That's not it. Actually, that's it. So I'll just copy this URL. See how high tech I am. All right. So I just pasted the URL in the chat area there, if you want to check it out. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? I'll say I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Some of you, probably many of you actually, I'll see on Thursday's training, which is Module 3 for the NFT Creator course. And we're going to be talking about creating generative NFTs, where you have multiple pieces to create random collections of art. And so that's what we're going to be talking about on Thursday. And then next Thursday is the final module, where we're going to kind of go through the entire process of everything you need to have in place in order to mint your own NFTs. So we're going to go through that beginning to end. Yeah, enjoy the holiday, everyone. To me, I think the holiday started today because it's winter solstice, first day of winter. And, kind of on a downhill slide from here in a good way. I always find Christmas to be a little bit anticlimactic because there's all the buildup and then it's like, boom, done, over. And then we get a reboot, New Year, which is sort of cool. So blessings to all of you. Thank you all for joining me here. I'm just reading down through here real quick. Photoshop don't really have non-destructive editing, Ganti. It's pixel based, so it's not really non-destructive. Marjorie says, are you doing the 28th? I haven't decided yet. Let's see. I haven't decided yet. I'll let you know. I was thinking about that earlier today. Probably. I have to check our schedule because we have a lot going on right now with downsizing and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I love the idea of going into an RV. I can't wait, honestly, to hit the road. But my word, 5,000 square feet filled with stuff. Jesus, Lord help us all. It's just been crazy. And Kristen's been carrying a lot of it, a lot of that weight, packing stuff and getting it ready and taking some of our stuff into the store and all of that. But, whew, good times. Not. So, Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, I will see you again soon. At the very least on Thursday for those of you who are in that class, and Tuesday, if we do next Tuesday, I'll send you an email. But until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will talk again soon.